The Ravens won 41-38. That was week 5. A lot of touchdowns, 9 overall, and both QBs had passer ratings, only 120-ish, and man, Joe Burrow was up around 137. So, Brou, we'll start with you. Who do you trust more tonight, Lamar or Joey B?
Lamar. And I like Joe Burrow. I think he's a great quarterback. But to me, this is simple. It's Lamar Jackson. Let me count the ways.
Okay.
Number one, we all know Lamar's a better runner. That goes without saying.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, Greg, from what I see right now, he's an elite passer. And I know he's had great seasons throwing the football. He won his, 2 MVPs, threw it pretty well. But even then, I never thought of him as an elite passer. And maybe now you can look at the history and say, am I ready to give him that? But looking at the way he's throwing the football, he has become an elite passer. And you showed some numbers. Here's their numbers from the season. And Burrow's having arguably the best season of his career individually.
Impressive.
And yet Lamar's got him beat in virtually everything, both of them very high completion percentage. And Burrow's numbers are great, but Lamar's are just that much better. So you got that. Secondly, Lamar has shown that he can do it and win against good teams, which Burrow has not this year. Lamar has 5 victories, Greg, over teams with 4 or more wins. Burrow has 0 victories over teams with more than 2 wins. All right? Throw on that, they're playing in Baltimore.
Yep.
Throw on that Lamar has owned Joe Burrow, has a 5-1 career record against him. Throw on that Lamar has the best run game in the league and the best running back in the league to keep the defense off balance. And Burrow has one of the worst running games. They're one of like 7 teams in the league to not average 100 yards a game rushing. So they're throwing the football. It's kind of like Dak in Dallas. We know you have to throw it, so that makes it easier on the defense. So, I trust Lamar more.
Yeah, this is a pick your poison question for me. Like, clearly both of these quarterbacks are really good quarterbacks. But for me, I'm gonna side with Joe Burrow.
Wow.
I'm gonna side with Joe Burrow because you said let me count the ways. Well, there's only one way that the Cincinnati Bengals can win. And that's with the success and on the arm of Joe Burrow. So when I look at why and how they will win, it's only because of how successful he's been and what he's able to provide them. And then the other guys defensively, they fuel and feed off of that. But if Joe Burrow doesn't have a great game, this team can't win. If Joe Burrow doesn't throw in 70% completion percentage and put up the numbers that he put up in week 5 against this team, they don't have a shot to win because they're not great defense. They're not as good as they could be defensively. And then he doesn't have as many weapons. The running game is non-existent. They're like bottom half in the league or bottom 5 or 7 in the league as far as rushing yards a game. But in order for them to win, they have to have great design plays. You're going to probably be playing without T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase has to be special. And that only happens if Joe Burrow is electric.
You're not worried about T's absence? I thought that would go the other way for you.
I can see why it would be a concern, but you've had other players step up. And there's a play that I want to show the audience and you guys where it's almost as if T. Higgins can be removed tonight and they can still have success because of other guys. We've seen Gesicki have plays, but this play in particular, you got a 6-man protection. Obviously, I'm going to circle up on Jamar Chase. He's highlighted. You see the route concept. If we can stop it right here really quick. This route concept, the importance of Andre Yoshivach, the one inside, the player inside of Jamar Chase when you watch this route, but we're going to let this play. This is what has to happen tonight. You have to depend on your offensive line to shore up protection, give Joe Burrow time, and it's all about the big plays. You're going to see this nod route. He's going to fake the seam, get the corners, hips to flip open, and it's wide open. The reason why I said Yoshivach route was so important. Look how he holds those backside defenders. If that doesn't happen, this play doesn't happen. But this can happen all without T. Higgins not being on the field tonight. T. Higgins is the receiver up at the top. But these are the types of plays they're going to have to make tonight. And that's why I say I trust Joe Burrow to make these plays if he's given the time and if he has those guys running wide open.
Okay. But that's a different conversation. right? That's a completely different conversation, because what Greg Jennings is saying here is that Joe Burrow is essentially more important, dare I say, more valuable to the Cincinnati Bengals than Lamar Jackson is to the Ravens. That that Lamar Jackson could technically not have this great game, this prolific game, and the Ravens can still win, right? Whereas if Joe Burrow doesn't ball out, then the Bengals have no chance at winning. That's true, right? I mean, the Ravens are a better team. When you're a better team, you can be more resilient. Your quarterback can not have a perfect game and you can still win, right? Like they're just a better team. Look no further than any of the other teams that you've seen. Look no further than the Chiefs, the Lions. They're probably the two best examples right now, is where they don't need their quarterback to throw for 300 yards, rush for 100. They don't need that, because they have so many other things going for themselves. But that has nothing to do with trust, right? If you're saying who do you think will have a bigger game, who do you think is needed more or something like that, but the question is, trust Burrow or Lamar more tonight, right? Like, so that's where the answer doesn't necessarily make sense. So I do think, again, you can be the biggest Ravens fan and the biggest Lamar fan, and what Greg said about that is valid, right? It doesn't invalidate Lamar's greatness. In fact, it validates just how good and great the Ravens team is as a whole, that they're not as heavily reliant on just Lamar balling out, right? Lamar obviously is incredibly important to the Baltimore Ravens, and he needs to play great, especially in the big moments, right? So, like, this is not to say that Lamar Jackson is being, like, carried by the team or anything like that. Can't be any more clear, right? So, but it's just, if anything, what Greg said is more of an indictment on the Bengals team, right? Their offense, their defense, and more of a compliment to the Baltimore Ravens. But again, in terms of trust, I think if anything, you're going to trust Lamar more tonight for those very reasons, because he's going to be more supported, right? He's going to be more supported. He doesn't have to play a top level game, because even if we saw that last game, and again, that last head to head, if I can get to it fast enough. Oh no, that's just this season. Oh, where's the week 5 matchup, right? Total yards is pretty much a wash when you're that close. But yards per pass, 10, that goes to Burrow. Burrow threw an extra touchdown, had a higher pass rating, and a higher completion percentage. So one could technically make the argument that Joe Burrow, right, did more. Although I don't know if that did Lamar have any rushing touchdowns or anything like that? I don't know. One could make the argument that Joe Burrow did more than Lamar. Lamar obviously was great and had unbelievably amazing plays. No denying that. This is not to pull down Lamar Jackson at all. It was one of the most exciting games of the year, without a doubt, if not the most exciting game of the year, with the play of the year, with Lamar scrambling and making that throw. But you can make the argument that they needed more out of Joe Burrow, and yet they still lost. Right? They still lost. But maybe Greg took it as like, who do you trust will have a bigger game or something? But I trust at the very end of it that Lamar Jackson is just going to probably be more supported. So I don't know how you could just say you're going to trust Burrow over Lamar. But it's been pretty remarkable this season that Lamar has had, and right, Joe Burrow is playing unbelievable. And again, it's kind of proof, right, to kind of what I just said, is you can see this. Look at the record for Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is balling out. Joe Burrow is playing absolutely phenomenal, right? 70, 108, 7.4. And I know Lamar is playing obviously unbelievable as well. And yet the record is just not the same, right? Like Lamar clearly has the better team. So this game's going to be interesting. I'm so excited that this is the game that we have tonight. It's actually going to be a fun, exciting, physical, meaningful game. Both teams really need this win, honestly. Both the Ravens and the Bengals. So this is going to be a pretty big game, and I honestly can't wait. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals? Who do you trust more? That's a question that we're asking. Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.